You've probably heard people talking about decodable books, but what exactly makes a book decodable? Are they really better than leveled readers? And do they actually help kids learn to read? In this video, I'll break it all down and show you exactly why decodable books are one of the most powerful tools you can use to build your child's reading confidence. You will learn what makes a book decodable, why decodable texts work, and how leveled readers can actually backfire, how to use decodable books effectively at home, and I'll give you a list of where you can find decodable texts so you can get started today. So let's start with, what is a decodable book? A decodable book is carefully written using only words your child has been taught to decode. These words will follow specific phonics patterns that your child already knows, so they can practice applying their decoding skills instead of guessing. It allows them to sound out words successfully and build confidence. So for example, I'm going to show you a couple of decodable books that I have on hand. These are from the Charge Mommy line. I love these decodable books. They have a great scope and sequence, follow the science of reading and all that. So this is short A book 1. So that means that in this book, they're focusing on the short A sound ah, which means that most of the words are going to have the ah sound and whatever other consonants they have learned. So when you open this book on the inside, it will tell you the following short A words appear in the story. So you can pre-teach these words. This helps you plan your lesson ahead of time. It also tells you which high frequency words are in here. In this case, there's only 3, and any additional short vowel words in the story that you may have to pre-teach. So all of that comes right here in the beginning. And then you would practice reading the book. So if we flip through, you will see Nat has a bat. Nat has a cap. Notice how there are no other vowel sounds in this, because your child at this point only knows the ah sound. That's what they're practicing. So as you flip through, Dad has a nap. Nat taps Dad. You can see that this continues. And so we're really focusing on that ah sound and reviewing that ah sound, practicing how to decode words with that sound, and before they introduce other sounds. And then what's good at the end of this book is that there are some additional activities you can do that help you, like tap the words out, blend words, some phonemic awareness, some blending, a bunch of different stuff. So I really like these books for both the classroom and at home, but they're excellent for at home because of the fact that it tells you exactly what you need to do ahead of time so you can plan your lesson and then use this to support your lesson after, and then they can read it on their own. So this is really, really excellent for, like I said, beginning readers and struggling readers. So this is an example for a student who is at the very beginning of, they know their consonants, they're practicing their short vowel sounds. Now let's say your child already knows all their short vowel sounds. You can move on to the CVC set. So this set contains multiple books. And so in these stories, you're going to have a variety of CVC words. So this one's called ribs. And in here, you open and you will see all of the words that appear in the story. So we have a mix of short vowel sounds in here and a couple of high frequency words. So as you flip through this one, you will see the variety here. Dot gets ribs. Dot gets rib rub. Dot dips the ribs on the rub. So we can see here that we are reviewing different CVC words, different short vowel sounds. So this is really building. Once your child has gone through and learned all of the short vowel sounds and they're confident, then you would move on to the next level, which is reviewing all of them in CVC words. That's what comes from a scope and sequence, a really good, effective scope and sequence, where you're really building on previous skills and you're going in an order, a sequential order that makes sense, that goes from easy, simple to more complex, and you're constantly reviewing things from before. So any book set or curriculum that has a solid scope and sequence like that is going to be really effective. So as I said, these are very controlled text. Most of the text that we are used to seeing, like leveled readers, are leveled like A, B, C, like they have those letter levels. They are not controlled. They have a totally different system of leveling their text, and they will often contain a mix of sounds, spelling patterns, and words your child does not know yet. So they're not very effective to use when your child is just beginning to read or struggling as a reader. So that's why I really like decodable text in those instances. Eventually you can move into leveled readers, but not at the point where your child is starting to learn to read or if they are struggling reading. Now, why do decodable books work? So many kids will get stuck using picture clues or first letter guessing with leveled readers because they're not controlled texts. But decodables actually force the brain to apply phonics knowledge, and it strengthens those neural pathways that we know need to be built for decoding and word recognition. This is what leads to automaticity and builds that foundation for fluency. So really that repetition that you get from using decodable text with the success builds their confidence and their skill growth. It's really laying that foundation. Now, why is it that leveled readers can actually set kids back? Now, I briefly mentioned how sometimes kids get stuck with picture clues or guessing the first letter with leveled readers. Here's the problem. They often rely on memorization, picture clues, and guessing, and that gives them really bad habits. Many beginning readers have not been taught the phonics patterns to be able to decode the words in these books, so they have to rely on these clues, like looking at the picture, recognizing the pattern of the words that have been repeated on the last few pages, guessing based on the first letter. So they're not actually using their phonics knowledge to decode the words on the page. And again, this is building a really bad habit of not decoding the word. And it can appear fluent at the beginning because the books are so simple. It's really easy to guess what it says. But once you take those pictures away, you take the repetition away, you add a lot more words on the page, it becomes a little more complex. They have no clues to be able to guess any longer, right? Now they are forced to use phonics knowledge. If they have not been given that phonics knowledge, they cannot read the words on that page. They're never going to be able to comprehend that text. So this often will look like fluent reading in the early stages, like kinder, first, second grade. By the time they hit third and fourth grade is where you see a lot of kids hit a wall because they're lacking that phonics knowledge and they were relying on these bad habits that can be created by using leveled readers. All right, so let's talk about how you can use decodable books at home. First, you want to make sure that you're using books that match your child's phonics level. If you're not sure what level they're at, there's a lot of free assessments online. You can grab my reading skills roadmap freebie to help you figure out where they are. But you should know, like if they're working on CVC words, magic E words, digraphs, or if they're doing vowel teams, that's what you want to focus on. You really want a good starting point. If you don't have one, you're not sure, a scope and sequence can really help you. You can grab that in one of my freebies. My Science of Reading Quick Start Guide has a scope and sequence in it. So if that's something that you need, you can grab that for free by grabbing that guide. And that will tell you exactly where to start. So you really want to start with simple patterns like consonants, vowels, short vowel sounds, CVC words, and then you're going to gradually move to more complex things, digraphs, blends, consonant blends, introducing long vowel sounds, magic E, simple vowel teams, complex vowel teams, R-controlled vowels, 2-syllable words, 3-syllable words. So you're going to kind of build up that way, and you can use the decodables to help you practice these skills. So you want to read together, model blending always, and encourage repeated readings to build fluency. So I always encourage, if you're using a decodable book, you read it first, and then read it with them, and then they can practice reading it on their own after. You want to keep your sessions short, 5 to 10 minutes, to maintain confidence, especially the younger, more struggling readers. They are going to need shorter sessions because their frustration tolerance is probably a lot lower. And once you start to see some confidence and gain some skills, you can extend the time that you are spending doing these activities. So you want to teach your lesson, teach your phonics lesson, focus on teaching the sound, how to spell that sound, read some of the words that have that sound. So if you're using these books, for example, you can just use that first inside the cover as a guide. These are the words that you would want to focus on practicing reading. And then after that, you would read the decodable text. So the decodable text comes last. So let's say you are working on a short A sound. Let's say you're doing lessons Monday through Friday. The first day you would teach the short A sound by introducing it, read some words, maybe read a decodable sentence. The next day you would review the sound, read some more words. Maybe you can start reading the book. You can read it to them, maybe read together a page or two. And then the next day you repeat the lesson and then you read the book together. And then the next day you repeat the lesson and then they read the book on their own. So you're there's a lot of repetition happening in there, but it's really short. And that repetition really is what builds their confidence and their fluency. Now, I do have a list of decodable books on my blog. That blog post is linked in the description below. I also have a coupon code for Charge Mommy Books if you are interested in. It is Thrive Ed Services. It's linked in the description below. That is an affiliate link. And I have additional decodable texts in my shop as well if you want something that's printable, ready to use. All right, so if you've ever felt unsure about where your child should be reading, then using decodable text really takes the guesswork out and makes it simpler and easier to plan and deliver your lessons. Now, if you want to make decodable books more effective, then you need really strong blending skills. Watch my next video, how to help your child sound out words without tears of frustration. And I'll walk you through simple strategies that you can use to help your child blend sounds smoothly and confidently.